So today's city update is going to be a little bit different because
I wanted to do a quick little kind of Q&A, little background on me. I know you guys had put some questions on my Instagram a while ago. I'm a little behind in making the video. We have a ton to cover in today's city update. The beach is finished. I've got a brand new mock to show you guys. I've got lights all throughout the beach. And I will actually be at BritCon here in a couple days, at least as of the time of uploading this video. So if you're at BritCon 2023, definitely come find me, come say hi, and for sure, come check out the builds. So let's do a really quick overview on myself and I'll answer some of you guys' questions. So a little bit about me. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I was born in Italy. That is really the largest reason why I'm building an Italian town. That was also probably the most common question I got. So that for me is really something that's important to me. And when I started building my city, I had this kind of mantra in my head, a little bit of like, build your happy place. And for me, my happy place is my hometown. And that's what I really wanted to build. So that way, when I'm not there, because I don't get there as often as I'd like to, I can come here and look at my city and it reminds me of it. And there's little elements throughout that take me back there. So first question I got was, how do you plan your buildings? Most of the time, honestly, I don't. I pick one element that I want to start with, whether it's the corner of a building or a patio, a color, a certain architectural detail, and then I just build from there. Other times, I'll go through a full design process and I'll walk through, what's the size of the building? What are the primary colors, secondary colors? What parts do I want to use? What unique features, landscaping, things like that. And then I kind of just put the pieces together literally as I go. I do want to cover, how to like start the design process for a build in a future video, because I know for a lot of people, it's really daunting to figure out how to just get going. So keep an eye out for that. Next question was, when and what was your very first piece of the city you built, and how has the city changed over time? First piece I built in the city was this tan Tuscan inspired building. It's really what kicked off the whole Italian feel for me. Really how the city has changed. If you've watched the channel, you've probably been able to see a fair amount of that. But, I used to have train tracks around the whole city. We didn't have a beach. I didn't have a hill section. Really, when I started the city, it was the bakery, the Tuscan building, and that row of tan plates and the sand green kind of support pieces behind me. So things have really started to evolve. And now that the beach is finished, I can start to work back on this hill section. So leading into that, next question was, what are the next projects I have for the city? The biggest one is the hill section. I really want to start building this rock base, adding buildings, putting the lights in there, and really starting to grow that, because when you walk in, it's one of the first parts you see of my city. So that's next on the list. What's my job in real life? I work in commercial real estate. I work in development, and it's kind of funny because Lego sometimes helps me with my job, just in visualizing, how to grade a property. If you've got, different changes in slope and how to even things out, just kind of visualizing it with bricks actually kind of helps me. So that's been nice. My favorite Lego piece. Oof, it's a tough one, but it's a tie for me between the masonry brick and the ingot. I use them in all my builds. Like, I honestly think every single build in there has both of those pieces in it. They both add a level of detail immediately. Instead of just using a 1x2 brick or a 1x2 tile, you just get, the little beveled edge of the ingot, the little lines in the masonry brick. It just adds a level of detail instantly without having to, add a bunch of other stuff. So those are my two favorites. Why do I do all mocks? Great question. Honestly, I was tired of looking at other cities that were the exact same. We all know what the boutique hotel looks like. I have it. It's a great build. But once I built it, I was like, okay, what next? And so for me, when I started my city, I knew I wanted it to be different. And I wanted it to be something that I could constantly evolve and really had my own feel to it. And I just find the mock process much more satisfying. The whole creative process from design to complete product, for me, is much more gratifying to have an idea in my head and then see it come out, in real life. So that is really why I do all mocks. So, do I use real world buildings as inspiration? I do, to a degree. I often will use a lot of elements of buildings I've seen like in my hometown or in travels throughout Italy or even stuff online, but I really try to focus on the ones that I've seen personally, because it's really fun for me to look at little, parts of my town and see things that remind me of, oh, this trip to Montalcino, oh, this time in Florence. And so that to me is just, again, part of the really gratifying process of building mocks, because you're kind of incorporating your own life experience and memories in it. So I do use real world inspiration. And it also, when you're struggling to figure out what to build, it helps because somebody's already built it before. So you can take it and then add your own spin and put your own little imaginative touch to it. All right, so next question is, what storage bins do I have? So I use the Acromills storage bins on top of my desk. You've probably seen them in my videos and tutorials, stuff like that. They're great, they're space efficient, and they're, really useful. Sometimes it's kind of tough because parts get sort of lost in it. If the drawers are up top and I don't really see what's in there, I kind of forget about it. One thing I've been using a lot of though lately is these storage bins. They are super, super helpful because they allow you to see all your pieces a little bit easier, especially when you're working with detail and you want to have, all your different little smaller detailed pieces. Much, much easier. So that's what I've been using more often. I will put links down in the description to what products I use. That's also another topic I want to cover in a future video, just because once I got my storage set up right, it was a game changer. And I think that a lot of people use these Acromills because they see them. And don't get me wrong, they're great, but the way I've organized and structured my storage has really, really helped my building process. So last question. How often do I get back to the area where I was born and get mock building inspiration from? So I try to get back once a year. Obviously going to Europe, it's not cheap. And I have another hobby that's also not terribly cheap. But, for me, it's really important because I have family back there. And that's, like I said, that's my happy place. But I'm actually going back here pretty soon. So I'm really looking forward to that. Been doing a ton of building leading up to BritCon, so it will be nice to just take a break, go get some inspiration, and come back refreshed and recharged. So now that we've got that part out of the way, I actually got to say it was really fun to do the Q&A. There was a lot more questions that I would like to answer, but I know that would be a really lengthy video. So if you guys are interested, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to do a second one of these. But anyways, let's cut to the good part, which is what you came for, the city update. All right, guys, so before I show you the finished result, I just wanted to show you guys kind of like the before, where you can see that right now I'm running all the wires through my Mills plates. I've had to kind of carve out some channels and rip some plates out just to make it a little easier on myself. I've also taken that top layer of black plates off that Mills plate so that I can put the building on top of it. Makes it a little bit easier for transport when you can separate the two. Also, big shout out to Bevins Bricks. I just bought his magnetic Mills connectors as well as some of his lighting products, and they are awesome. They work flawlessly. So now I've got some work to do. We're going to show you in this next sped up section of the details we need to do, and then we will get to the finished product. All right, so you can see here I'm revising the little walkway and the pathway. I'm also texturing the beach as well as building 16 beach chairs for the beach. So now that we've seen all that, let's take a look at the finished product. So as you guys can see, this is obviously leaps and bounds better than what I just showed you guys previously. So I've done some texturing on the sand. I used cheese slopes, 1x1 tiles and plates, as well as those little quarter round tiles. Added some lawn chairs because I realized I needed to, give it a little bit more and fill it in. Was able to get these palm trees and also light them up, and I was really, really happy with how that turned out. I do have a tutorial coming out soon on these palm trees. They're really fragile, but really, really nice effect. This is probably my favorite section of the new beach area, just with how the walkway turned out, the potted plants, the outdoor seating, the light on the palm tree, everything fits together really nicely. And just this view corridor that's starting to develop is really nice to see it all start to, come together. So this pink building and kind of white beach club building, it's kind of interesting how it came about, because I started on one section and then I started half of the other section. It all kind of came together, but it's a little, ice cream kind of stand, little beach club area. And then the pink is meant to be sort of a restaurant. That's where you kind of have the outdoor seating. But I think it turned out really nice. The light nougat was a really fun color to work with. I think the light gray works with it. It's probably the least textured building in my city because I really wanted that light nougat to shine through. But I think it works really well with this roof, and I was really pleased with how this turned out because that cattail fits just perfectly in there. So, moving on down to see the little awning and the potted plants, I tried to really fill this patio in, and I'm really happy with how the railing turned out. And even just the color of those blue pots, I think is really nice. So
This is another side of that white building. You guys have sort of seen some of this before, but now that it's a little more filled in, I've added a light, a potted plant, some large white planter down the row with those sort of dark pink and magenta flowers. And I think overall it's really started to come together. And now it's kind of like when you look at all the different angles and view corridors and sight lines, it all looks good. You know, there's not a lot of gaps. Obviously, the hill section needs to be filled in, but the other part, it's a little hard to see in my city, which is kind of a bummer because this is actually my favorite side of the building. I did the front of the restaurant and tried to keep it simple. You know, added a little outdoor seating and then the dark green plants kind of growing up the side. Just nice contrast with that light nougat. And moving over to this side, again, really hard to see in my city, so the filming's kind of shaky and awkward, but you can see I put another exterior light here with more of the dark green growing up and then a red awning, just to give it a little touch of color. So now moving to my newest build here, I do have a tutorial actually for this roof that I've filmed. I just need to edit it. Really happy though with how the little tan details I added on the edge of the roof are. And overall, I think it has a really nice cohesive look. The balconies kind of came together pretty quickly. It was kind of an idea I had actually one night. I was laying in bed and I couldn't sleep and ran downstairs and it all fit pretty nicely. But I think the colors work out well together. I do see that there's a few studs I've missed there, so I need to go back and fix that. But I'll show that build a little closer up in a future video. So at the beginning of this video, I mentioned I'd be going to BritCon in a couple days. Well, when I filmed that and when I'm editing this now and uploading it, BritCon is actually going to be tomorrow, Saturday. And this is what I'm bringing. So I'm not bringing the upper level of the city where you see like the dark orange Cantina building and the white building and the Sangarine and the hill section. That's not coming with me. Pretty much the bakery, the Tuscan building, the beach, my new build, and then these Mills plates with the red sort of bike pedestrian path are coming. I am working on a building sort of last minute. If I can finish it in time, I'll bring it with me and it will be sitting right on that black Mills plate. We will see. I'm not sure. I will definitely be posting a video on kind of how to pack for BritCon and what I'm doing because this is my second convention I'm going to, that I'm exhibiting at least, and it's a much, much bigger display than I brought previously. So it'll be a little interesting. One of the things I'm a little nervous for is actually connecting all the wires because so much of it is, you know, subterranean. It's within the Mills plates. So it will be interesting to see how that whole process goes and setup and things like that. But speaking of lights, I wanted to end the video by showing you guys what the beach looks like at night. I personally think it is awesome. The way the palm trees light up is super cool. So let's take a look. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's Q&A and city update. I know this was kind of a long video, but if you guys are going to be at BritCon, definitely come find me and say hi and check out the builds, and we'll see you in the next city update.